Hello, everybody. Welcome, everyone in the chat. Honk if Garrett creeps you out. And welcome, everyone listening and watching wherever you are. I'm a reality Amanda. I'm here with James from My Take on Reality.
Hello. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. How very sophisticated. And Sarah from Realitea Squad.
Hello.
Tonight we're going over season 5, episode 3 of Seeking Sister Wife. How are you two doing tonight?
I'm well.
Doing excellent.
Okay.
Very excited to talk about this. I've been out the loop for a minute, so I'm good.
Yes.
I received Natalia is in Cancun and
she's there. She's here. We get to talk about her. This is so much. Oh no, I'm accidentally showing things. It's all. I'm getting into it here. I love that James messaged in the private chat and went honk honk. We all think Garrick is creepy.
Danger.
Speaking of Natalia, we open the episode up with the Merrifields back in their favorite country, Mexico.
Mm-hmm. Their hunting ground, if you will.
Right. The scuba bowl.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And Danielle is wearing a lovely flared pant leg suit. I don't know why. I don't usually notice the fashion, but I did notice that.
Yeah, because I think we are attuned to the Merrifields fashion because Garrick wears so many tank tops that it's like you just start to notice the outfit choices.
Yeah. Do you think he just watched a lot of the OC with that what was it? What's the actor who was in that show? This is like my older millennial coming out with the bad boy from the wrong side of the tracks comes in.
Was his name Ryan or was his character's name Ryan?
I think his character's name was Ryan and his name is like Benjamin something.
Yeah, he's on Benjamin McKenzie.
Something like that. Anyways, he was like a bad boy and he always wore wife beaters. That it reminds me of Garrick.
Yeah, he's like from the wrong side of the tracks and Garrick definitely is from the wrong side of the tracks, but like in a much different way.
Really.
Oh, he's more dark side of the moon though. Like he's not even.
He's from like the wrong side of the planet, or like the other side of another planet.
Yeah, he's in trouble. Well, I think that a lot of the decisions, the fashion decisions they make, are emblematic of what they think somebody will be attracted to. So Garrick is trying to wear the hot boy stuff, where if he was out, like a single young man would wear when he's trying to talk to a younger woman, you might wear like a tank top or, something to show the guns off, something to get a little chest in there, the ab work. You want to do all that. Yeah. Oh, what time is it? You want to do all that stuff. And whereas Danielle, I think I can see the competitive nature in Danielle when she's dealing with these other women. So she's always trying to put herself right there. So like even there was I think there was like the first time we met the Merrifields, Roberta came out and she had this tank top like, ooh la la, it's so hot. She takes her cover off and then Danielle looked at it and then she jumps up and takes her cover off.
Yes.
And her parents like, what are we doing? What are those?
The funny part about that scene is that Danielle's parents were sitting right there witnessing this like disrobe off.
Right, exactly. And I'm gonna say it like, I think my daughter is pretty, but I don't want to see a business.
No,
you understand what I mean? Like, I don't be all up in a business like, whoa, what are we doing? Like, I understand you're older, guys are gonna be attracted to you, and maybe you want to show off the goods a little bit, but please, I don't want to see that. You're still my baby girl,
Yeah, no.
Oh, speaking of outfits and clothes and all that, did you all notice when Garrick was like, oh, thank God Natalia changed out of those dirty rags she called clothes and into something that'll, really get my Holy Ghost boner going.
Her skater style.
Yeah. Her dusties. Yeah. And can we talk for a minute? Because I agree with that. But I think that's in tandem to what is it with the Merrifields? Like the whole time Danielle is sitting there saying, I feel bad about what happened with Roberta and getting used, and this is why I'm hesitant about doing it because I feel like we were being used for money. And then the first thing you do on your first date is you fly this young lady and her mama to a different country. Then you rent a whole house. And the whole time you just throwing money around like you have it like that. Then you surprised that you get used for money. That they feel comfortable asking you for money. You have it, so why shouldn't she ask for it? I'm just like, it's just, I don't know. I know we're gonna get into it, but that's just one of the things. Like even speaking about like the rags and how they see themselves, like socio-economically between the people that they date. Like it's just, I don't know. It just bothers me. It bothers me.
No, and I think like most of us are like, great, take all the money you can get off of these creepy people who are preying on these poor like Latino women,
Let
Right.
other people tell you you're being taken advantage of. If you notice, Danielle's brother and sister-in-law weren't like, oh no, you're getting bamboozled again. It was like, oh no, Garrick's a freaking idiot and he's back up to this whole thing again because we're like kind of witnessing human trafficking a little bit. Like, I don't like this is it's like the brother and the sister-in-law, I don't think they're worried about Garrick depleting maybe they should be about Garrick depleting the family funds for chasing women across the globe, but it doesn't seem to be that they're worried about him being taken advantage of. It's him doing the taking advantage.
Yeah, I mean, who's gonna think of these like poor women?
Yes.
Which brings me to thank you for the super, Kikalika. Kikalika says, missed the last few streams. Glad to be back to talk about all these fools, but really, I cannot feel bad for Danielle anymore. She's an idiot. I think when you first start watching the Merrifields, you're like, oh wow, Garrick, he's a predator, but I think she's like kind of in on it now.
And she's kind of asserting her dominance too. She's really growing into that first wife role where you can definitely tell where she's like manipulating things.
Right. Well, to a couple points. First point, I say this. For these young ladies who are getting played out by the Merrifields, homeboy's going down there to try to mess around with these women. He's on a sexcation to try to go down there and get the boom bop. When he goes away, jump on the plane. That's fine. If he wants to get laid, you should get paid. So make sure that you get your money stacked up right, because that's all that's happening in this situation. This is a very transactional relationship. I'm done like pretending like this is a love interest, trying to find a deeper love and commitment, because it's not. He's trying to get his rocks off, and he's using these women to do it. That's the first thing. Second thing, as far as them going like to these other countries and trying to find these people, they're making a mockery of the K-1 visa by doing this. Because you're not in like, oh, I'm going to propose to her. And as soon as I get the commitment, you know what that means? She's in my room. You know what I mean? I'm going to send Danielle to go sleep in the boys' room. Because he's not, because that's all that's going to happen. He's going to kick Danielle out of the room that they have. And as far as me feeling bad for her, I don't feel bad for her at all. Because at this point, like, it's one of those situations where you have a friend that keeps coming to you, oh, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's doing this. You're like, well, why are you with him? You should break up with him. I should break up with him. I should break up with him. And they go right back. After a while, what do you want me to say? You know what I mean? When you come and you start complaining about it, oh, okay. So do you want to get the bacon or you want the sausage? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what are we talking about?
And this is the other thing I wanted to bring up with, especially with these two, being that they are now on their second attempt at a relationship with a woman who speaks Portuguese. Their relationship with Roberta was several years in the making. Neither one of them speak a lick of Portuguese. And Granted, I have heard that is a very difficult language to learn. However, they have had years And you would think that Danielle especially would want to know or want to be able to converse with whoever Garrick is, because Garrick clearly doesn't care about anything beyond sleeping with these women. So my like hope that he would learn their native language is like, I just don't even have time to hope that. But you would think that Danielle might. And that is an additional reason why I don't feel bad for her. She could do herself so many favors by downloading Duolingo or Babbel or something.
She also didn't seem to care at all about Roberta's mom, going back to season 3 and 4 when they were like, Roberta was like, my mom will be left alone. She's not in the greatest health. I didn't hear a peep from Danielle or obviously Garrick about caring about that. They were just like, evil woman, we gave her money and she won't come be.
Her mom is on her deathbed and they won't get on the plane and come here and sleep with me. It's ridiculous. Like, and there is a point too, even with Danielle, at some point, like, because I remember when Roberta first said that she was breaking up with Danielle, and Danielle sat there and cried and screaming, oh, I can't believe she did this to us. What about the princes? What about the kids? They did this to the kids. Here's my thing. If you recognize that your husband's a stone fool and he chases his Willie around and making all the decisions, you have to make better decisions for your family and for yourself. Don't follow behind him while he's making bad decisions, especially when he's involving your kids. Because he, like it or not, he essentially encouraged her to not only go meet with this woman and her mom, but he brought his kids to meet with a woman and her family who he has no idea who these people are. And you're bringing your kids along with you? Oh, and by the way, when we get down there, I'm going to propose to her, and it's going to be great, guys. And you have to accept her as a mother. Like, what are we doing? You don't even, like you guys are saying, you don't even speak the language. You haven't even had a full conversation with this woman beyond, like, talking on the phone. I love you. You love me. I love you. You look real pretty. Like, that's all they're able to manage to say to one another. And it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So no sympathy from the OG3 for Danielle.
Nope. Yeah, I'll throw a little bit of Danielle back at her. I don't understand. Like, what you don't understand about your
my sister.
performance.
They're worst acting ever.
Yeah, what a scene.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears a little bit. In the episode, we now go to see Danielle of the Davises, different Danielle. I kind of think of them as like young Danielle and older Danielle. Like Garrick's wife isn't old, but anyways.
Yeah. She's also not large, and yet here we are with all these monikers.
We didn't talk about that really quick. They're like obsessed with talking about
tiny wife.
Yeah, tiny wife, the tiny wife. We have to get all up into her looks. I mean, maybe producers are like forcing them, but still.
Yeah.
That's creepy. Yeah.
But we hook back up with Danielle in her car, and she's just left the Davis family. And did y'all notice this when we get up the producer's voice on camera, and the producer to me was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get some good television here. Danielle, did you say goodbye to the little girl when you left? To the little innocent child? And she's like, ah!
Here's the thing with the Davises. There is love there. It's weird. I don't get it, but I get that there's love there. It kind of baffles me, to be honest.
I mean, I think some people are torn. Like, is it love or has Danielle been taken in? I know a lot of fans really love this family, and Danielle herself says, I'm torn.
That she's like, what, 23 or 24 or something like that.
Right, she's very young.
Younger than Roberta number 2, yeah. And Roberta number 2 is like 24 or something. So yeah.
And I know that, like, I was an idiot in my early 20s and just
well, I would say this. I think that when talking about Danielle, the one thing that I was Like I was celebrating the idea. First time in one of these ridiculous shows' histories, somebody actually took a moment to step aside and consider and think about their future and what their future is going to look like if they pursue this avenue or this avenue. Like what happens down the line if I commit to this relationship and I go full bore instead of me just closing my eyes and hoping for the best? I actually think about it and consider it. What is my family going to look like? And do I really want to participate in that? And I respect the fact that she took the time and said, look, if I can't 100% commit to this, I need to step aside now, figure out what I want, and then decide whether this is something I want to participate in. And even with the producers, like you were saying, Amanda, when you were saying that the producers were encouraging her to have this conversation, the truth of the matter is, to me, the conversation might have been a little too early because she was still figuring things out for herself. And she needs to take that quiet moment to figure the things out for herself before she engages in the conflict with these women who are going to try to encourage her not to leave. So I totally understood when she said, yeah, I just packed up my stuff and I left. Did you talk to the other ladies? Hell no, I left in the, when they went to work, I scooped my stuff and I had my trunk packed up and I got out of Dodge. I totally understood that because those women wouldn't have been sitting there trying to understand what she was talking about or her perspective or why she's afraid or what her concerns are. They were just sat there and saying, look, you agreed to it. This is our family. You need to accept it. You have to stay. You made promises. You made commitments. You have to do this. And they would have encouraged her and she would have been following her own heart. Mm-hmm. And so for that, I'm all on. I was standing up applauding her. Like run for the hills, girl, because this ain't for you. I
think Mace Chill brings up a really good point in the chat that Danielle, to me, just isn't ready to marry a wife. I think she was fine being in the relationship, but adding another and then having to marry them was too much for her. Because lest we forget that there's been a gap between when we last saw the Davises. When they got married to Danielle last season, Jen was pregnant and now the baby's like a year old. So it's been like a year and a half since we've last seen him. So she's been, in theory, I don't know, like fine this whole time. And now it's like they're talking about bringing someone in, and we know that Nick likes to have them marry each other. Like maybe that's just getting too like real life for her. Maybe in her head, she's like, this is just like the thing I'm doing in my 20s. Like,
right.
But if I have to like legally marry someone, like, I don't know if I'm willing to do that.
This is her, we all have those friends who like went off to a commune or like volunteered for the Peace Corps, or, like, some, went off and found themselves in a journey. And like, we all have to find ourselves in one way or another, but they really do. And like, I totally agree, Sarah, that this is kind of, this could be what was going on with Danielle. And then she went, what?
Yeah. Like, I don't know if I'm willing to like sign on the dotted line for any of that.
Right. Yeah. And it's a weird, and like, even that's one of the dynamics that I was thinking about when I was saying that you have to step back and think about whether this is something you want to do, because they have the part where they insist that you marry somebody. Why do I have to get married to anybody? Why do I have to commit to this person? Because technically the way that the Davises date, he goes out and finds somebody that he wants to date. Then he brings them back to the family. So he goes out, scavenges around, figure out who he can get. He brings them back to the roost for the little hens to peck on. And then that's how they kind of decide what they want to do. And then they pretend like, okay, we have this whole conversation. Everybody is involved and everybody gets to decide on what we're going to do moving forward. And that's cute. But the reality of it is that you're going to ask Danielle to meet and marry a person that she doesn't necessarily have any connection to, which is also farcical of the idea of matrimony, because you have these ladies marrying each other and they aren't in love with each other. They don't want to have a commitment to one another. They're just doing this so that this is kind of their membership to the club. And that's ridiculous in and of itself.
Yeah.
Thank
you so much, Little Bit, for the super chat.
Little Bit says a lot of bit.
Yeah, that's a lot of bits there. Thank you so much. So generous. And also welcome new member Heather Green.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Should we transition over to? I know Sarah was pretty excited about this family before we got on the live. Should we talk about the Ryans? Becky and Justin, this is our first introduction to the Ryans, correct?
Yes. If
Yes.
anybody wanted to know what it would look like if one of Cody's kids grew up and lived polygamy, this would be like this would be his daughter. This would be McKelty if McKelty like decided to live polygamy.
I could see her in that role.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Becky actually, she grew up in a polygamous household, and I was like, oh, that's kind of nice. It's like,
Mhm.
it's like it's nice to have a mixture. I don't want all people who have no idea what they're doing. It's like, I don't know. I just Googled it, and now I get to sleep with all these women. It's like nice to have people who are like, no, I was indoctrinated in, and that's why I'm doing this.
Mhm.
Right.
But Becky, it's so funny, and this is why it's like she's McKelty to me, because she tells us, yeah, like my moms didn't get along, but I know I could be different. Like I could do this differently. Ma'am.
I mean, I want that confidence.
Yeah.
I can
She didn't
do
know
it.
what she was doing, even though she actually lived it. Like, and that's the weird part about it too, because whether you like it or not, whether she was good at it or not, she was actually a polygamist. You're kind of like just a neophyte wannabe polygamist. You're married to one man for many years, 6 kids, no other sister wives, and now you're stepping out onto that branch and you think you got it all figured out. That's a little weird to me. I don't know.
How many people like it's Becky, right? Yeah, Becky. Do you
Mhm.
think how influential have the Browns been on the polygamy community at large, where we're getting people who maybe part of what they're considering is getting on the show? Because she says, "Oh, I should have done it when I had younger kids." It's like, yeah, you should have. It would have made more sense back then to have more help.
You
So
see how sweet Janelle had it having Christine around? Like,
yeah, she could have had that deal. Yeah, so I do you think the show is playing at all into some of these people deciding to suddenly late in life pursue polygamy?
I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, I think that the acceptance, like the realization that there is a certain level of acceptance, like you're not gonna, people aren't gonna, I'm a polygamist, and all of a sudden you have a lawn full of people standing out there with pitchforks and torches, to come and get you. I think the realization that that's not going to happen is open up the doors for a lot of people to come into the light and say that this is what our relationships are and this is what I want to pursue. But I think that the way the Browns even did it in their polygamous relationship is very much can be laid over onto other people and applied to other families. Like I think there's a group of people who do just what the Browns did the same way. And so I think that part of the reason why the Browns actually resonated so well, especially in polygamous groups, is because they were a mirror of a lot of the polygamous groups that were in existence already. You know,
Well, apparently they've had a relationship with a woman named Stephanie, but she doesn't want to be shunned by her family like Garrick. Seems it's a lot easier for these wannabe polygamists. It'd be a lot easier if they could find somebody in their community. What's going on? Why are they all looking outside of their community?
Well, like we've seen with, Janelle and Cody, the family wreath, the family pretzel, if you will, it's strong, and you don't want to end up marrying your stepsister, like, so you gotta look outside. And yeah, and Stephanie's anxiety is really cramping their style. Like she's just
I know, who is she to have an opinion?
Worry so
she
much.
is. Have her own hopes and dreams. Like what? You're here for my entertainment. Period. Point blank. The end.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you want things for yourself. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So Becky and Justin go chick hunting at a bar, an empty bar
In the middle of the day.
What are we doing here? What is happening? What's
with the most interesting group of gals? There was a grandma, the girl that they hit on, and then another gal. But it's like, who brought their grandma to the bar?
Right.
Hey, you know what? Mamas like to get down too sometimes. So
You know what?
Right.
That's going to be me as a grandma. It's like, oh, honey, what are you getting into? Can I come? Just
Yeah.
because, I'm nosy.
Can I see it? Yeah.
Deborah saying poly fishing in the
Yeah.
chat. Yep.
Right. Well, because I think even with the first part, the big question is if you are in a group, it would make more sense that you would find somebody within the group. So that way there's not a whole lot of explaining as to what it is you're doing. Like, and I get the whole, like, I mean, I get it. You don't want to marry your cousin, but if that's the culture, that's the culture.
Yeah.
So aside from that, as opposed to you trying to convert people, like, hey, you want to marry your cousin? It's great. Come on in the water. It's warm and fabulous. But the thing that bothered me with the whole bar scene, like, first of all, I'm gonna come right out and say it. I think that girl is a plane. Like,
Yes. I have that in my notes too.
Yeah, because there was no like chemistry or anything. Like the conversation that they had wouldn't lead me to believe. Like if I was standing there and I was I forget his name, the guy. If I was the guy and I was him and I was standing there having that conversation with somebody, I was like, there's no way I'm asking her out because there's no way she's going to accept this offer. The first thing. And the second thing is that, at least in my mind, if you're going out, if you're single, I've been out the game for a minute, so I'm just recalling. This is memory recall. If I'm going out, it's better. It's just a better time meeting other people if you go out to have fun, and then incidentally to you going out, you meet people, as opposed to you going out with the express purpose of I have to meet people, and if I meet people, I'm having a good time, and if I don't, I'm having a bad time, because nobody wants to be a part of that fun. Nobody wants to get invited to the party that looks miserable.
But also, if you're like, these people are like these weird hybrids of like, they're like super churched up, and they're like you don't go hunting for like to score like a lady in the middle of the afternoon. If you're gonna, if you are gonna be that like up front, you have to do it late at night when it's pitch black, in a dance club. But they don't want to do that, In
the creepies, yeah, you know what I mean. And even that, like, if you're going out, it would have made more sense to me. And I would feel better about it if you're going out. Like if I'm sitting there and I'm talking to my partner and we decided we're going to go out and pursue this, and we're going to go hunting for ladies out at the club or the local, the local Applebee's or whatever, because that's where it looks like they were at, like Applebee's or something, scooping the ladies at the TGI Fridays. But if you're going to do that, I would go out and what I didn't see was them going out and enjoying each other's company.
Yeah.
Because if I'm bringing somebody else into the relationship, I should first be able to enjoy the company of the person I'm with. I'm out with my best friend. We're going out, hanging out. Let's go out. We got a babysitter. We're going to be chilling. We're going to have some fun. We're going to have some drinks. We're going to get something to eat. And then maybe we're going to meet somebody else. And if we don't, we're just going to have a blast being out. That makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. And like I said, with success, if I'm sitting there and I'm laughing with her, it would be so much easier for me to walk over across the bar and say, hey, would you like to come and join the party? As opposed to coming and joining a thing that looked like you talking to your sister and I find out that's actually your wife. Like, what the hell are we going? Like, you guys here for a funeral? Like somebody passed and you guys are just sitting there trying to console yourself with booze and now you're trying to pick people up. What's going on? Like, it's just weird to me.
Yeah, I was a bartender at Applebee's. If I saw a married couple and a camera crew fishing for sister wives in the middle of my afternoon shift, I would be like, okay, this is awesome. I'm entertained. Okay, so we briefly leave the Ryans and we actually meet up with Shane and his bestie. Somebody in the chat earlier was like, it seems like there's 3 people in this scene, and the third is some very vivacious cleavage. Yes. It was noticeable.
The girls out to play. Girls came out to play.
This was Rachel, was her name? Did I get that right in my notes?
I think so.
I'm so bad with people's names.
I know they flash the little titles like so quickly sometimes.
Yeah. Right.
I was a little disappointed Rachel wasn't like, bruh, it sounds like your wife just like wants a taste of the rainbow. What are you doing?
Right.
Like she just kind of sat there and like I don't know. What did you think of this?
I like that this guy meets his wife competitive axe throwing, and he meets this friend competitive beer ponging, which I didn't even know you could do that semi-professionally or whatever, like competitively. Like,
Me neither.
where do you do that?
Dive bars.
Yeah.
I've heard of dive bars. That's where you would go do that. They usually have the meth dealer on the corner. Like,
I don't
it's
know.
crazy.
Maybe they have tournaments inside frat houses. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like, isn't all beer pong a competition? Like,
Right. Well, actually, when I heard that, I was waiting for him to bring in the friend. This is my friend from the competitive jumping jacks competition that I was involved with. And there's my friend from hopscotch.
yeah, I can't wait to meet more friends. Like, what else do
Right.
you do?
This dude has a lot of hobbies. Let's just go right out and say it.
Hey,
big
you know
hobby
what?
man.
Good for Shane. He's putting himself out there,
Right.
Maybe he's just like
very
always
involved.
on Meetup, and he's like always seeing meetups, and he's like, I'm gonna go to all of these and be super social.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because apparently his wife is busy. And so since his wife ain't home, he might as well go make friends in other places.
Wait, you
Yeah.
cracked the code, James. His wife is like out exploring her sexuality, and Shane's like, well, I guess I'll get another hobby. I'll join a pool league.
I'll become a
And I'll sit and complain
competitive
about
jigsaw puzzler or something.
Yeah.
Right,
He's
right.
he's like playing chess with old men in the park. He's like doing everything. His wife's just like making out with chicks.
Yeah, right.
It's a quick
the one thing
scene. Oh, go ahead, James.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say the one thing that I that kind of rubbed me the wrong way about the conversation that he was having with this young lady by the pool was the when she had insisted that Grace, like, oh well, Grace has to understand and respect you as the partner because you're 50%. But here's the thing: unless you're out hunting, unless Ashley, the wife, is out hunting for a booty call, that young lady, whoever she picks, is also going to be her partner. And at least that's how it was sold or advertised to us. So she's an equal partner in this relationship as well. There is no duty and bowing and curtsying when you come in the room because you're the almighty husband. And that's part of the thing. Like, I don't think that he really understands what he's involved in. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't. I'm not getting that feeling. Like, if she's attracted, like, oh, okay, we'll talk about. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a minute. But if she's really attracted to somebody, I don't think he has as much say in who she dates as he thinks he does.
I mean, clearly, no. Later on, they show the couple in their bedroom, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to continue forward with Grace." I'm like, "Pretty
Right.
sure? Shouldn't you be pretty certain?"
And then it was almost like his Grace is she's that person that always has to have the last word. So it was kind of like, in my opinion, Ashley sent her a very like therapist-y type breakup, like very like professional. And then Grace was like, oh yeah, you know what? Like I actually, well, she didn't say this, but it was almost like, I'm so glad you said that because I like totally felt that first, like I was totally over this first.
Yeah. Well, I get that though, because nobody want to be the one to get broke up with.
Yeah.
I'm breaking up with you. I'm double. You could have a ring in your pocket. Like, yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah,
This ain't working out.
I quit.
But even that, like, I went little inside baseball. My suspicion, and I guess I have the benefit of foreknowledge in seeing some of the previews. I think that the girl that we see her meeting with, who she like, if you look at the previews, she's totally into this new one, this next one that she's going to be talking. She's totally into her. I'm like, this was the one. But I think she was already in the mix. Like, I think she was already kind of in the pot when she was talking to Grace. Like, I don't know if I really want to continue with Grace because I'm not really feeling it. You went on 6 dates with this woman. If this was somebody that you were really attracted to, then I think things would have moved along a lot faster in those 6 dates. Like, you wouldn't still be henpecking on the 6th date. You know what I mean? Okay, well, I'll see you later. Boom, like kissing like she's your aunt. You know what I mean? The dusty aunt. But
we're also not addressing the fact that like Ashley is 6 months pregnant. And like,
right.
I mean, do you, but like There is literally nothing I would have wanted to do less than like go out on like date my husband, fine. Like whatever. But like a first date, a second date, 6 months pregnant.
And she's getting them. Who is going out? I mean, there is a beautiful glow to pregnant ladies, but I'm just thinking of the single version of myself. I would have been like,
Say this goes somewhere. You're now you're going to be a parent if this goes somewhere. If you're dating someone who's pregnant, right? Like,
yeah, you ready to be a mommy?
Oh, I just thought of something. Question. If she starts dating somebody, and I think she's about she says she's 6 months, and she has 3 months. You have 3 months to get to know this person, invite them into your family, become part of the unit. Does the girlfriend get to come into the room while she's having the baby? And will Shane be okay with that? Because now, like, if we're gonna keep it all the way a stack, and she's part of the family, she has every right to be there in the room with her significant other. Because even though Shane is the husband, he's sharing his significant other with this other woman who is the significant other as well. So she would technically have every right to be in the room holding her hand, just like you are. Get us some ice chips, Shane.
Yeah,
you don't know what she's going through. I understand what's happening. You don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work.
Dear God, yeah, too many complications for me. Yeah. Welcome, Lorraine. I'm gonna Moat. Thank you for being a member. Of either James or Sarah's channel. I can't tell which. And then thank you for the super gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Ooh. Did you notice the command hook on their headboard? Absolutely. I was like, what is going on? Is that a divide? And like, he's not allowed to go past where the hook is because it was right between their heads.
Does she pull like a cord so it's like a fence at night? Like,
I think that's for a couple of strange. Like when they want to take a little walk on the wild side. Like I think there's some there's probably a tie down in there somewhere.
Oh, okay. I was like, what dirty can you do with a command hook? That it's so short. What? Okay, but okay, you're tying.
Okay. Well, because for if she's tired it out, not that I'm all into this, but I'm just using my imagination for those keeping track. I would imagine that like for safety, like you have safe words. I can imagine that somebody would have that so you can unhook yourself if things are going on like, oh, I'm restrained, but if they get too crazy, like, oh, off the hook we go, and I'm out.
Just in case the house catches fire and she's like a every man for themselves situation, and then you're stuck, tied up, and
Shane's totally running out. If the house catches on fire in the middle of the thing and she's tied down, Shane's leaving her.
Yeah.
There's nothing about Shane to make me think he's gonna stand there and try to fight fires.
I don't know. He could be spending his off time taking like firefighting classes as a hobby.
He's a competitive amateur firefighter.
Right.
Okay, we go back to Mexico and we meet Mexican George Clooney.
I've always wondered what he looks like.
Yeah, right. I thought he was a handsome fella.
He was.
Garrick's like, ooh la la. We already went over that. Gross. In front of your kids.
Is it a cenote? That looked really cool.
Yeah, what was it? They're like in these caves.
It was like a cave. Yeah.
And they're swimming in this cool looking water. Yeah. I mean, that looked awesome. Yeah.
But the bats probably would freak me out too. I wonder if it was really loud. Because the bats were probably like, hey, you guys are coming all up into our domain. Like, what are you doing? I was just napping and now I'm all awake because there's camera equipment in here. But it was really cool.
Yeah, bats are scary.
I can see, like, I probably would have been a dumbass if I got in the water. But so I'm actually going to be two sides of this a little bit. But I can see where the young lady had some hesitance about getting in the water because you start seeing bats. You're like, I don't like this. It's too much nature happening too close to my situation. 1, 2, if you're in a cave with bats on the ceiling, that means that water has bat guano in it. You know what I mean? Like you're literally swimming in bats.
Oh yeah, bat poo poo.
Yeah. So she was like, no. and Garrett said, just then Garrett jumps in with his mouth wide open. No.
Yeah, I would have probably gotten in. I love water, and my dog looks like a bat, and so I am partial to
So you've been
bats.
fine with it. The one thing I didn't like was when, especially with the language barrier, but when the young lady said, "I don't want to get into it," and for me, that's kind of a point too. When she said, "This is something I don't want to do," I don't care whether I agree to do it. I told you this is something I want. My dream is always to go to the cave and swim with the bats. And she gets there, and all of a sudden she says, "No, I got the blues." But
Yeah, that was cool.
I don't even know how
That was
people
very
do that,
cool.
but they always do it to James, and I'm like, yes.
It's awesome. It's awesome. I love it. But when she said no, that should have been it. No is no, folks. If she says this is something I don't want to do, stop. You can try to maybe push a little bit. Come on, you're gonna have fun. Come on. But if she says no, I absolutely don't want to do this. Stop trying to encourage her and then saying that, oh well, we didn't have as much fun as we should have had because she didn't do what we wanted her to do. Like trying to exert that control and that power over her. She has every right to say, look, I don't feel comfortable. I was gonna come down, get in the water, but I can't see the bottom, and I don't swim in any wild nature thing where I can't see the ocean or I can't see the bottom of anything. Which some people have that fear. So I respect her for that, and I also respect the fact that she stood on her no, which is going to be problematic later, I think, for Danielle.
Yeah, Danielle was such a bee about things. She was like, Natalia's ruining my good time. Like,
you have both of your kids here, which is like questionable parenting, but okay, you're on a family vacation. Like, if she just wants to sit out, okay, like,
yeah, it's fine. It doesn't have to ruin your good time. Like,
and now it's like super uncomfortable because now you've like harped on it for a whole bunch of time.
You try to press her into
understand. So you're yelling at her in a foreign language, and it's like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, all she knows is the vibes are bad.
Yeah,
get in the water. It's great.
Gestures like, come on.
That's not gonna make it better. It's like speaking louder to somebody who doesn't speak English.
Yeah. Welcome, Fairchild. Sorry, James. What were you saying there?
No, good.
Oh, I was just welcoming Fairchild to, I think, Sarah. And then thank you, Deborah, for gifting a membership. Thank you for the super Fog Flower. Fog Flower asks, how strong do y'all think those command hooks are? We're back to the command hooks.
Not very. Yeah.
They're weak as hell.
You totally pulling them out the bed.
Yeah, and you really have to scrub and make sure it's a clean surface or the stick doesn't stick as well. Kika Lika, thank you for another super. Do you think Prophet G Google translates his translation of the Bible to these women? Say that 10 times fast.
That's funny.
Prophet G, yeah, right. According to the word.
I could see Natalia like flipping through the I must not have gotten that version because I don't see here where it says the Holy Spirit's sperm. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Brainwash you. Which is actually pretty arrogant. Like, because if you really think about what he's saying saying that the vitamin D is strong enough to brainwash you. Like he said, when he put it on you, it's going to change your whole mindset. Like, which is pretty, that's pretty braggadocious for anybody. Like, I'm going to change your whole world. You come to my house, I'm going to change your whole reality and how you see the rest of the world. One night with me. Like, that's insane. Especially for somebody like that.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't it funny, too, like, so Danielle and Garrick have been married for a while. They got married as, I don't know if they were teenagers, but they were very, very young.
I think they were in college, right?
Yeah, and I see similarities with Becky and Mr.
Justin.
Becky, whatever his name is.
I think it's Justin.
Justin. And they've been, 16. She was 16 when they got married. It's like, is this something that happens when you get married really young? Like, you just hit that like 25-year itch and then you're like, don't want to stay married, don't want to get divorced. Like, polygamy?
I mean, these like late in life polygamists, like there's definitely some midlife crises going on here.
100% for Garrick. 100%.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, he's in it for the ladies. Like it has nothing to do with, I don't think, the commitment. But I will say this: like I think that with Danielle being as pushy as she's being, like even trying to assert the first wife position, and even later she comments that, well, I don't necessarily feel as close to her as I did to Roberta at this time or at this stage in our relationship. I felt like me and Roberta had more, like she was more willing to have fun and do things and basically do what she wants. I think that Danielle is ignoring or at least missing one very important factor. And the factor is when you met Roberta, you were Garrick's wife. You were his wife. So she had to win you over just as much as she had to win Garrick over in order for her to exist in that space. This new young lady, because you blessed Garrick with the divorce, she doesn't have to play the game with you. She doesn't have to like you and you have to like her and be willing to sacrifice her for her, etc., etc. She only has to impress the hell out of Garrick. And let's be honest, if homegirl gets in the boudoir and she throw her leg up on Garrick just right, Danielle is gone. Okay? I don't think I care too much for Miss Danielle. She can leave. And he'll come right over there like, you or the person's got to move out. Sorry, bye. And close the door.
But this is
y'all can stay here in Cancun.
This is how masterful Danielle is, because she made a mistake with Roberta when, you know, Garrick and Roberta had that quickie and she was, you know, not there for that. And it happened so quickly under her watch. But now she's making Natalia shack up with her mom so that there's no chance for hanky panky.
Right.
Garrett can't be sneaking into Natalia's room for a quickie.
Yeah, I was going to ask, so you think that came from Danielle?
Oh, yeah.
Not Roberta. Or sorry. See, I'm just like Danielle. I'm saying Roberta too. I wasn't even doing my Roberta number 2 joke. Natalia wasn't the one who was like afraid of the...
I mean, she's probably so grateful that Danielle imposed that rule, but I think that Danielle decided, like, we're bringing our boys. We, like, you are not, like, I mean, this is already such like a years down the road, something that her boys are going to relive in therapy, but like, let's try to mitigate the trauma. Like, no hanky panky.
Okay, well, but go ahead, James.
No. I didn't really consider that, but I will say this: it is interesting that the house was loaded up. Like they loaded up all the rooms, so there's really no space where they could go and sneak off to be by themselves. Because Garrick and Danielle are sleeping in the same room, and then right next to them you have the mom and the young lady sleeping in Natalia sleeping in the same room. So, and then of course the boys are probably in their own room. So everything is loaded up. And unless they down there in the washroom or in the laundromat or whatever, the laundry room, trying to make the machines rock, like it's just going to be a weird place. So I can see that.
Dawn in the chat says, if Garrick wants to bail and leave with Roberta, the sequel, I like that one. Danielle will wind up sleeping in a barn. Yeah. I mean, I see your point, Sarah. Danielle is definitely being smarter this time around, but at the same time, because at first I was like, oh, no hanky panky. Okay. He's gotten under control. But then it's like, oh, until he proposes. And what is his criteria for proposing? So he thinks she'll say yes?
The bar is low. The bar is low.
She looked good in the thong.
She's alive. She's not a robot when we meet her, and I'm gonna propose.
Right.
Yeah, she showed up, so that was his green light to propose.
Yeah. So I'm thinking he will have. I mean, like if they're gonna do a 5-minute quickie when they, with Roberta when they think Danielle might be coming back, he will find a place. They'll go to the jacuzzi or the pool. They'll go to the Garrick's gonna get off. I mean, not to be crude, but. He's going with his.
No, I mean, it's like, even to that respect, this is the equivalent of trying to marshal somebody, a spouse or a significant other who you think is cheating on you. You're wasting your time. If you think that you're going to be able to prevent somebody from cheating on you, if you're around enough, you call them enough, and you pop up at their house, it doesn't matter, because as long as you have two willing adults who are willing to do this, they will find a place and they will make the time to go get together. So there's no stopping it if it's coming down the line. And then even with regard to something Sarah said, if you have these young men, like, because I'm looking at these guys as young men, you have these young men who are about the age when they start, hair starts growing in funny places, they start noticing girls. They're at that age. And then you have this young lady showing up, your daddy's new girlfriend showing up, and she's got a behind hanging out, taking warm showers under this is like, these kids are going bananas. These kids are going bananas. Like, you can't tell me. Like, okay, dad's doing it. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So when they get in the hugs and stuff, watch them little boys, they give this lady a hug. Oh, we miss you so much. They just met her.
Yeah. It also worries me that Garrick seems to think that the thing that's holding him back is him proposing. So, like, if he proposes, does that mean it's an automatic yes to Pound Town from Natalia? Like, I'm a little concerned about, like, consent and all that, like, because you guys don't even speak the same language. I'm worried about how, like, actually enthused she is for Garrick to be giving her the Holy Spirit.
Right.
Yeah, we get like one confessional, I think, where she's kind of describing like she's into him, if I'm not wrong. Did you two remember watching that?
Yeah, she said she was attracted to him. She thought he was very attractive. He works out. He has a good body, etc. She has a connection with him, and she thinks she's in love with him. But she also says that she's not sure about Danielle. She has a long way to go with Danielle. So, I mean, that's kind of built into the sauce. But I do, like, I'm a big proponent for, like, you can do what you want. Like, I'm go crazy, get a little test the strain, go step on the wild side, do whatever you want. But everybody involved in a relationship should have a complete understanding of what it is you're doing. And I think that kind of goes, or at least harkens to what Sarah and you guys were saying about them not having the communications to where they can actually communicate with each other as to what the parameters of the relationship are, what's actually going on. Like, they give each other like these, when they're doing that whole like text message translation, Prophet G and Google Translator, they doing that. All they're doing is, I love you so much, you're so beautiful, and a lot of flowery words, but they're not getting to the nitty gritty of what the relationship actually is and what it's going to look like. And that's problematic, especially when you're dealing with somebody, and I'm speaking as an older guy. And as an older guy, if I'm talking to a woman who's 25, 26 years old, my understanding of relationships may be completely different than her understanding of relationships. You know what I mean? My experience with relationships will be complete. We're worlds apart. He's a father of two boys who are almost adults. And then she's just coming into her own. They're just in two different places in life. So for them, I love you so much. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm Prince Charming. You're Cinderella. Like, what the hell is that? So I don't think that they really have, like, when we speak about consent, what is she consenting to? She can consent to the action, but she can't necessarily consent to the relationship. And he said that there's no action without there being a relationship, but how can she consent to something she doesn't know nothing about? Because you can't communicate that to her.
Good point.
Yeah, piggybacking off of that, Kika Lika, thank you again for another super, says, nobody is naive to the fact that whatever woman ends up with the Merrifields will be abused by both of them, right? There is a reason they want somebody they can financially and geographically control. I mean, I think everybody is saying some stuff that it's like, we've had a lot of serious things go on in like the polygamy reality TV world lately. And I don't know, I think it's a conversation. It like, where's the line? And, Sarah was mentioning like trafficking. We've already discussed their, K1 visa fraud. James, you're talking about how, she can't even understand what she's getting into. We've been referring to them as predators, the whole video. This could be kind of serious. This is like getting grosser and grosser.
Right.
Yeah. And like, I think also there's this like assumption that people just want to come to America. And that's something like with 90 Day Fiance, you see all the time. These people just assume that the foreign fiance is running some sort of scam to try to come to America. If it's like clearly not a love match, right? With Roberta, I don't think she necessarily wanted to come to America. I think that she like was very close to her mom. We see like on the new season of 90 Day Fiance, Happily Ever After with Mahmoud, like he had a terrible time leaving his family. And then there's like a whole controversy about him, but it's like people don't necessarily like want to come to America.
Right.
Yeah. No,
well,
and
I will.
Oh, go ahead, James.
No, I was just going to say, I will say that on the upside, if Garrett does put in an application for the K-1 visa for this young lady, Natalia, then on the upside, he'll be barred from applying for a K-1 visa in the future. That's the only real upside. The downside is that he probably will convince Danielle to start applying, and they'll have kind of a Davis situation going on. Because you're only allowed 2 applications for a K-1 visas. So, and that's whether they're approved or not.
Yeah.
So if you put an application that gets rejected or they turn it down, that's one.
Yeah.
And this will be a second.
I do worry with shows like 90 Day Fiance. And then earlier in Seeking Sister Wife, we saw with the Snowdens, Dimitri married Crystalline that they brought. Well, now he was never legally married to Ashley. So it's a little bit of a different situation. But like with the Merrifields, we see them committing fraud on the show when they go and get the divorce. And the judge asks them, is your marriage irrevocably broken? And Danielle says, yes, like fraud. That is fraud. And it's like, is this going to make it harder for like real couples to utilize this process to bring someone they love over to the United States? I think that is like a concern.
Yeah, it's not easy, especially post-COVID. And like, I imagine being somebody who is like, your heart is breaking because you can't get your actual partner that you are actually, you're both committed to each other over. And you're just like, I mean, we've all, a lot of us have. I've been in a long distance relationship. I had to do long distance with my wife before we got married. And I can't imagine being in separate countries. And like, then they're seeing these people who are just like playing, just pick the harm the Brazilian. I can't think of anything. It's not even funny. It's terrible. It's a good point.
Right. Well, I mean, I think that there's also a complication because, as you said, when you have these type of examples, like I've always taken the position, like I had the whole thing where I was calling Sister Wives a polygamy propaganda program. I think that 90 Day Fiance, even though it was pushed out as a net positive for these types of relationships, ultimately, I've always taken a position that I don't think that the producers or people behind the show actually encourage this type of migration because they put it in such a trivial light as far as the application process. Like these people barely know each other and they're using the 90 days to get to know one another and figure out whether they actually want to be married. That's not what the 90 days is for. The 90 days is given to you. They give you 3 months because they assume that you've been in a long-term relationship with this person and you already know you want to get married. They're just giving you 3 months so that way they don't have to get off the plane and then run down to the chapel to do vows before they get kicked out of the country. That's why they give you 3 months. That's it. And so when you have like people like this, it's extremely damaging to people who want to come into the country. But I will also say that by Danielle doing this, there is a term in the legal world, clean hands. So in this particular instance, if Garrett decides that he wants to put Danielle out, and I'm assuming he has the property and things in his name, assets in his name, if he wants to kick Danielle out, she set herself up because there's no way she can go back and sue him for anything because she doesn't have clean hands. Because like you said, Sarah, she already participated in fraud. You created the situation by participating in the fraud, which allowed the situation to happen. And now that he wants to kick you and the boys out because he got the good from Miss Natalia, now all of a sudden you want to complain about this isn't right. I've been with him for X amount of years. I help him build his business, and I should get a part of it. The court's not going to hear your case, So that's just something else to consider. But I do agree that it's very damaging to K1 pieces.
Yeah. Let's go back to towards the end of the episode. We get back with it's a little bit more lighter of a scene. We're back in the chick hunting zone with Justin and Becky, and we're gonna kind of wrap up this scene of them talking to Desiree. This was hilarious. I thought there's so many funny parts to this scene, from Justin being like, "Oh, that chick's too hot for us," to him like literally running away to go get his business cards. James and I were laughing about that before the stream started. Like, what are your all thoughts on the like shenanigans of this couple?
Could this lady be Stephanie, the gal whose face was blurred out, and that's why they were blurring her face, because this girl is actually a plant? We were talking about that. Like, this seemed like a farce.
Right.
Who would not say, what on earth are you talking about, if someone approached you with what that lady was selling at a bar?
Just
you want me to, what?
That's what's crazy is initially she gives the reaction we all think she's going to give, and then later towards the end she's like, I am free tomorrow night. So I'm like, oh yeah, production plant. Right. And I love your theory about this being Stephanie. That would be hilarious.
Well, I would say this. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I've, girls got to eat a date or two in my day, where you just like, hey, why not? Girls got to eat. But if it was the wife of the guy asking if I want, I would be like, I don't know. Like, I could always go to McDonald's.
Right.
That wouldn't win you over? Asking if you've worked out? Hey, have you worked out recently? You want to go out with me?
Yeah.
No,
thank you.
For those who don't know, like, even do you work out? That's a stupid, clever way of saying you have a nice body. Oh, do you work out? You have a nice body.
This is why we need you, James. You're being our translator, our man translator. Kika Lika says, I would stiff arm any woman at the bar who word vomited at me some BS about dating her husband. Girl, you're harsh in my mellow. Thanks for the super.
Like, I'm trying to get drunk with my grandma. Like, move along.
Yeah, especially if you have a high tolerance. You ruining my buzz, and I already put down like $50 on that. So we need to back up.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm trying to enjoy my $15 Bahama Mama. Can you get out of my space?
Here I am rocking Alabama Slammers, and somebody come up and ask me some foolish shit. Like, nobody's playing that game. But I will say this
at 2 p.m. because clearly someone's on parole in this group, and they had to be home by a curfew. So,
right. Like, if I get my ankle monitor off, I would gladly join you for cocktails tomorrow. And I would say this, as a parent, there's not a whole lot, especially if you have young kids. There's not a whole lot of stuff that you would like. I'm not wasting babysitters, because there's a difference between being a single person with no responsibility and being a parent who has to get, arrange people to watch or supervise your children. I'm not wasting no babysitters on no bull stuff. Like, I'm going to go out with the guy who can barely make a sentence and is staring at the wall. Like, I'm going out with you for what? You can't even have a conversation with me now. Why am I going to make cutout time and ruin a babysitter opportunity so I can sit in a restaurant with you and you can't even have a conversation with me now? What's the point? What are we going to do this again? I'm talking to a weirdo chick about, have you ever dated somebody? Blah, blah, blah. And he's just staring at the wall like he's looking at the menu or trying to read the bottles. Like, come on.
James, you had some thoughts on this earlier. What, he exit to get his polygamous business card?
Right.
Do you all think he was just scared and he needed to like go outside and be like, come on, Justin, you can do this, Justin. You're a polygamist, Justin. You got this. You got it.
You're a polygamist, Justin.
You're a handsome man and you're worth it. You're worth it, bro. Like, get your butt in there and talk to this woman.
He's like
doing the cool runnings thing to himself. I see pride, power.
Yeah.
But and again, I must say that I've been out the game for a minute. So correct me if I'm wrong. It's just weird to me that you would go get a business card. And I've had business cards before, and good business cards. You're like, okay, wow, this is impressive. But at the same time, one, you don't want to put yourself out like this is the sum of who I am. Two, I would recommend you don't give somebody a business card because you're giving them the access to you at your job. Keep those two things separate. You're giving a stranger access to you at your job, especially if you're stepping out with your wife doing some polygamy stuff. Like, keep the freak stuff to yourself. Keep the freak stuff in the bedroom, quiet, hush, hush, quiet to the QT, and keep your work stuff separate. Because this, you don't want nobody calling up, hello, Swankum, Jankum, and Bankum. Hello, can I speak to freak man Charlie? I met him at the bar yesterday.
What was that? Swankum, Bankum, and Frankum?
Swankum, Bankum, and Spankum. You know what I mean?
Spankum. Oh, James, you're too much. I'm loving this. Yeah, so I guess we're going to probably see Desiree again, if she said yes, right? And / if this is actually Stephanie.
I have so many questions.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
I always wonder how many people who watch these shows are poly. AS says, as a non-monogamous person, it is unbelievably cringy watching these folks try to date. They are making every mistake possible. Do they not have the internet to connect with like-minded people? Yeah, there's poly apps and websites you can go to, but I guess that's not as fun television.
Like, when I became a parent, like, I didn't know anything about parenting. So I I joined groups and blah, 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 like how to gentle parents. It's like, is there a how to gentle polygamy or something? Like how to not.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of public families who can write how to have an unsuccessful polygamist family.
It's hysterical to me that Becky is admitting that she comes from a very dysfunctional polygamous family. I mean, maybe not dysfunctional, but clearly her moms weren't like besties. So what was what was that like that you thought, let me do that to my kids?
Right. You know who it reminds me of? It reminds me of Christine. When Christine was so nonchalant when her and Janelle go visit her half brothers, and she's like, oh, the brothers are like, it was miserable. It was a war zone. They were fighting with each other. Christine's like, oh, I was having a party. I couldn't wait to grow up and be a polygamist.
Good point. Because I was like, Becky, my girl, like, what?
Right. Well, because I think also there's we can't dismiss the reality that for a lot of the polygamists, there is a source of indoctrination for the young ladies, stronger indoctrination for the young ladies, where they're pushing them into polygamy because part of what makes the world go round is the fact that they use the young ladies to make the older guys happy. So they're not going to push the younger guys into trying to date and suck up a lot of the resources, which is the younger girls. So I think that's part of it. But even get back to something that AS has said, being a non-monogamous person, if you want to be a part of a group, typically you try to hang out with like-minded people of the same group. You don't have to date them, but I would assume that if you want to fix cars or be a guy that deals with the cars, classic cars, you find a classic car group and you learn how to you learn the lingo, you learn the cool sweaters and jackets to wear, get the patches, same. If you're interested in doing polyamorous, polygamous, polygyny, or whatever the case may be, just non-monogamy, if you're interested in that, you try to find like-minded people that you can hang around with, that you can communicate with so that you can be successful at it. That's also part of the indoctrination of some of the polygamous groups, is that they try to have like-minded people. So I think that the reason why this young lady thinks that she's going to be more successful is because she thinks that because she's more outgoing, she's going to be able to meet these ladies, develop a friendship with them because she's so outgoing, and that's going to bridge the gap and make the relationships better. But I don't know how well that's going to go because if you don't have the fundamental, like day-to-day small detail on how to do it, I think it might not turn out like you plan.
Yeah. And by the way, that advice is so true. Like I have a lot of people who, because I'm, out like pretty public, they'll be like, how do I meet queer women? It's like, go to where they are, take a women's studies class, join your local softball intramural league for women,
Right.
That's how I met my husband, Tinder. Like I was interested in dating. He was interested in dating, and we met on a platform where it was people that were interested in dating.
Right, exactly.
Who would have thought?
And I think what you guys are saying is so valuable because why wouldn't you not, if you're into, especially something that's a little more eccentric, because not everybody is a kid. Like there's some people you walk up to in that very conversation, hey, how would you like to meet my husband? Or are you guys open to this? That could downright turn into an altercation. Like people get cussed out.
I know. I spent my early childhood in Alabama. You do that in the wrong bar in the deep South, you might lose a limb. Okay.
Yeah, stuff is happening. There's gonna be some furniture moving around. The cops are getting called. People getting taped off. There's gonna be chalk on the floor. Like
Yeah.
So no, you got to be careful. So I think that again, you go to people who are open to that concept instead of, and this is one of the things that was kind of weird to me too. Instead of you trying to indoctrinate people into your group or into your belief system, or find people who are like-minded instead of trying to convert people. I'm gonna find somebody who has always been a monogamist, wants to be a monogamist, never thought about polygamy, and I'm going to try to bring them into my relationship because what could go wrong? Everything.
Yep. Allison says, James, are you a therapist? You could be.
No,
I'm not gonna lie. You're pretty wise.
I'm just an old guy.
No. You're just our OG George Clooney, okay? With your salt and pepper, facial hair.
I'm the urban George Clooney.
So I do want to start to wrap things up a little bit, but we find out at the end of this episode, quickly before the episode ends, that Danielle, speaking of indoctrination, Danielle, young blonde, very young Danielle, who is, not older Danielle in Mexico. This is young Danielle. She's gone back to the Davises. And I'm just like, whoa, my emotions are up and down. She's gone. She's back. What is going on here with Danielle?
I thought she signed a lease.
Right.
Can you just
a whole apartment.
JK on a lease?
I don't know. I guess she's going to sublet. I don't know.
Yeah. Or break the
Maybe
lease.
It'll be the new Boom Boom Room if they get 4 or 5 more women in the regular place. I don't know.
I do like the idea that she would have I like the idea that she would have an escape route if she decides this is something she doesn't want to do. But like I said before, one of the things I don't mind people doing whatever you want to do, especially as long as you're an adult. If you're an adult and you consent to doing it and you're informed about what it is you're doing, I don't have any issues. Go crazy. Knock yourself out. Have a great time. You know what I mean? Just don't hurt the kids. But with this, I don't feel comfortable about it because I'm not 100% sure as I'm watching it that she's okay with this situation. And I think she still has to figure some things out for herself. And she doesn't need pressure, especially from these older ladies who are trying to pressure her into doing something that she doesn't necessarily want to do. And one of the things that she might also be considering, as I thought about it, was there's a difference between you coming into a relationship with 2 women and a man that all of you are sleeping with, versus you coming into a relationship with 2 women, that one of those women has a child. You get to watch this child come into the world, and then you get to watch these other women, mother on this child and be considered this child's mother. Maybe that's something that became a reality for her. Like, if I have a baby with this guy, because he's going to try to knock her ass up to keep, and she got to be careful about that. I think he's going to try to knock up to keep her in the fold.
Yeah.
But, if this happens, is this what I've always dreamt, that I'm going to raise a child with these other women and have other women call my baby, call these other women mom? Am I okay with that? And that's something that she should have to answer for herself.
What do you think, Sarah? What's going on with Danielle? I mean,
I constantly have to remember that she is so young. And that is worrisome. I'm not 100%
Mm,
sure how old Nick is, but I think he's in his 40s. That's the
yeah.
idea I have, I guess. Because he's
Mm,
been with April for a while. Um, so yeah, I think there is a certain amount. I think James brought up really good points that I think maybe inadvertently, if not blatantly, Danielle is getting pressure from Jen and April. Like, you don't want this? Like, look at how great. Like, is she being pressured to conform to something she's not 100% on board with? And then, yeah,
mm.
she takes this big step to leave, and 5 seconds later, she's just right back.
Right, right. Well, because and that's part of the pressure when you're dealing with like that type of peer pressure. Because one of the things that bothers me about this whole thing is that if you're going to be a participant in these types of relationships, make sure you're a full partner in these relationships,
Yeah.
which means that you have a say. If you don't have a say with who he dates, then you don't have a say with who he marries, and you don't have a say with who he's going to bring home. And if you don't have, and if she doesn't assert herself in being able to have her voice heard, then this isn't a relationship she needs to be in. And that's just my opinion. Like she can do whatever she wants to do, but I just wouldn't want this for a friend of mine or somebody I knew. Like if you don't have a voice, now this is the same thing with older Danielle with Garrett. If you don't have a voice now, you can't look your man in the face and say, okay, yeah, let's explore bringing somebody else into the relationship and somebody else into our thing and turn it into a throuple, and it'll be great. Bring another wife in, and you agree to it, and then halfway through you say, you know what, this ain't for me. I don't want to do it anymore. And he says, okay, you know what, you don't want to do it. We're gonna stop doing it. If you don't have that ability, then this is something you shouldn't participate in because he doesn't care what your opinion is, and you don't have a say. You should always have a say.
Mhm.
Jill Spear in the chat says that's the thing. She isn't being heard. I was kind of thinking along these same lines of like, you know, when I've been with people in relationships, I've always wanted to feel like they wanted to be and should be and belonged in the relationship and were fulfilled in the relationship just as much as me.
Yeah.
And,
Mhm.
to me, it would be just another red flag if I'm Danielle and they're just so focused on coercing me back in and
Mhm.
not as focused on listening to me say, I cannot have this requirement that I marry another woman. I'm not even ready to date another woman. Like you said, James, like she's not really being listened to. It just seems like red flags all over the place. And so I'm just like, why is she going back to them? But she's young, as Sarah
Mhm.
said.
And she's the only one that we've heard mention, like, I'm a new mom, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, she didn't have the baby, but she's the only one thinking, like, this might not be healthy to do to this child. And there's another child, too, that doesn't appear on camera that April had from a previous relationship. So it's the, at least someone's thinking about the kids, I guess.
Right, right,
Right. Oh, the kids.
right.
What's interesting to me is it seems like online the fan base of this show has really embraced the Davises.
Mm,
And maybe the opinions will be a little bit more changed now that Danielle is kind of showing that this is hard, a little bit hard on her emotionally, and she's really struggling with whether to be in the family or not and how young she is.
mhm.
But yeah, I've seen a lot of support for specifically the Davises compared to other couples, which I mean, if you're comparing them to like Garrick Merrifield, then yeah, he's like, Mother
Yeah.
Teresa.
I read someone's comment was like the bar is like on the floor, like
Yeah.
we're dragging the bar behind
Yeah.
us.
It's
It's
so low.
Right.
yeah, there's not a whole lot for them to contend with to be like the top spot. So
Well, I just wanted to say real quick, just going back to the idea of her not having a voice. I think that it's also compounded on the fact that her not having a voice about something that directly affects her, because she doesn't get to choose who he marries or he brings into the family, and then she's forced to marry. A lot of times when we watch these shows, we take away the significance of actual legal marriage because they throw the word around so much. We don't focus on the legal marriage part of it, and them being legally married If he picks somebody because she hot to trap, she toting that dump truck, and he's like, "This is the one I want to be with." Boom, boom, boom. Now you have to marry her, and he marries or picks a partner who has gambling issues. She has alcohol or addiction issues. That's her wife. She has shopping issues. Like she just loves being at the store, running her credit up. She has $100,000 in credit in debt. That's Danielle's wife. That's not his wife.
Yeah.
And it doesn't affect anybody else in the Davis's family except for Danielle. So the fact that she can't even say, I should have a say with who I marry. Forget bringing them into the family and who he sleeps with. I should have a say in who I marry. And them saying, no, don't worry about it. This is just how the family works. That's not enough for me. Give her a better reason as to why she should be there. And like you said, Amanda, like I'm a big fan of that too. I don't want to be with anybody who doesn't want to be with me. And if you don't want to be here, I don't want to force you to be in a place that you don't want to be, because it just kills everybody's mellow. It just makes everybody safe.
Yep.
You know, if you're struggling with being there and it makes you don't want to really do this, but you're forcing her to do it anyway. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I also don't understand when people will like beg people to stay. I mean, I get it in this instance. They're like, we just bought a house, we got a mortgage. But even in monogamous relationships, like begging, please stay with me, please stay with me. Like, oh, but now you know that they don't really want to stay with you. Isn't that? But there's other issues. I know relationships are complex.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to give a shout out to Melly FZ. Thank you so much for the super. Melly says, thanks again for doing these lives. Makes my week. Love you guys. Thank you, Melly, for the love. I think that's a good note to end our live on, unless do either of you have anything more to say about the episode or the previews for next week?
I'm having a blast with this show. There's some dark things brewing with the Merrifields for sure. But until we get there, I'm going to enjoy the mess for what it is.
Right.
I mean, we had people in the chat who were mentioning their daughter, the Merrifields had a baby, and I don't know when the baby's supposed to come in. I'm very confused on the Merrifields timeline, so I hope they make that clear.
A secret baby somewhere. I don't know when they're going to.
This is drama. Secret babies and visa fraud and God knows what else.
Wait, they have a baby with Garrick and Danielle have a baby, and he has a baby with somebody else.
No, supposedly Danielle had a baby fairly recently. But
okay.
Exactly. It's,
right?
It's alleged, suppose. People are basing it off. I don't know if anyone has I don't know if she was spotted out and about pregnant, but they're because they just sold their house and they're were listing photos with the primary bedroom had a crib in it and pink colors, so they think that she had a girl.
Okay, I'm really glad you said supposedly, because I didn't know that this the main thing that we're going off. We think they have a baby because they listed their house with a crib.
That is my understanding, but okay. I could be wrong. I'm wrong about a lot of things. So.
Okay, well, who knows if there's a baby, but that is dramatic if there is.
If someone knows something, if they were actually spotted and with a child, I hadn't heard that. So
yeah, let us know next week if you have evidence. Send us a link.
Yeah. Oh, did you guys hear though that they are doing post episode, they're going live and answering questions, Danielle and Garrick?
Yeah, Sarah and I chatted about this. I didn't email them my questions, Sarah. Did you?
No, but we're going to have to, the group, the chat, we're going to have to come up with some questions that we want to answer.
We need to. I need to tune in. We chatted about that and then I totally forgot. So I need to tune in next week.
First question I want to know is, where can I find in any Bible, any version of the Bible where it says anything like what you just said?
Yeah,
I want to see the references. That's what I want to see.
Yes. And that's a question I think they would choose to answer. So actually, I think that's a great question for somebody to submit.
Yes.
Because Garrick's just that crazy. He's going to be allow me to take the pulpit for a second and translate to all you plebe, what the Bible actually means.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I can see a situation where he says, well, it says it right here. You know, the man shall come into the woman, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, let me see that Bible for a second, Gary. Oh, yeah, nice handwriting, asshole. Like, you know what I mean? Great penmanship. You did a good job, right? You know what I mean?
These polygamous guys, they think they're all Joseph Smith. They can just
Right.
make their own book up and do whatever they want. And
They were staring in the magic box, and then they figured it all out.
right. All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us and staying on this journey. I have so much fun seeing you two every week. And we will see you back here next Wednesday for episode 4 of Seeking Sister Wife.
The foolishness.
Indeed. All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
Have a good one.